Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance, and today we're going to talk about a synergy that many players are only starting to notice, but once you see it in action, it becomes impossible to ignore. We're talking about the interaction between Dante and Drain once they both reach Relic Level 20. Now, at first glance, these two heroes don't necessarily look like an obvious pairing. Dante has been around for a long time and is already known for his speed, dodge mechanics, and disruptive gameplay. Drain, on the other hand, is a much newer addition to Dominion, bringing a very different kind of pressure to the battlefield. But when their relics reach level 20, something very interesting happens. Their abilities begin to overlap in a way that can completely destabilize enemy teams. And once you understand what is happening behind the scenes, you start to realize that this synergy is not just interesting, it's extremely powerful. Let's start with Dante. When Dante reaches Relic Level 20, he gains the ability to reduce the main stat of his opponents for 16 seconds. That is a very long duration in Hero Wars terms, especially in fast-paced battles. And reducing a hero's main stat is far more impactful than it may seem at first. Because the main stat affects multiple aspects of a hero's power. When you reduce it, you are not just lowering their damage. You are also reducing their armor, survivability, and most importantly, their health pool. So Dante's relic essentially weakens enemies across multiple layers of their build at the same time. Now let's look at Drain. At Relic Level 20, Drain also gains a powerful effect, a 6-second main stat reduction applied to enemies. On its own, that ability is already strong. But when it happens at the same time as Dante's relic effect, the results can be dramatic. Because now you have two sources of main stat reduction stacking together. Suddenly, enemies who normally feel durable begin losing large portions of their effective stats. Their armor drops. Their damage drops. Their survivability drops. And most importantly, their maximum health drops. And this is where things become truly impressive. Because Drain's fourth skill, Final Verdict, is designed to execute enemies with low health. When an enemy falls below a certain threshold, swords begin falling from the sky, and those swords instantly eliminate them. Normally this requires enemies to be heavily weakened first. But when Dante and Drain are both reducing their main stats at the same time, that threshold becomes much easier to reach. Suddenly, enemies who thought they were safe begin collapsing without warning. You might see one sword fall. Then another. Then another. And before the enemy team even realizes what happened, 1, 2, sometimes even 3 heroes are gone. It almost feels like watching a magician's trick. Or a circus performance where blades are flying through the air and landing perfectly every time. Except this time, the targets are enemy heroes. This interaction between Dante and Drain creates a battlefield environment where enemy durability begins to evaporate. Teams that normally rely on strong health pools suddenly find themselves exposed. And that is why this synergy is becoming more and more interesting for players experimenting with Eternity compositions. For a while, Eternity teams had taken a bit of a step back in the meta. Other factions were gaining attention, and Eternity seemed to be waiting quietly in the corner. But with the arrival of heroes like Drain and Electra, the faction has started to rise again. And Dante plus Drain is one of the combinations pushing that resurgence. Now the beauty of this duo is that it gives you enormous flexibility when building teams around them. One of the most natural additions is Octavia. Octavia enhances dodge mechanics and helps the team survive longer while building momentum. Her presence allows Dante to operate even more effectively while the team maintains control of the battlefield. Another excellent option is Burner. Burner brings stability and support, helping the team maintain pressure while also sustaining allies through longer engagements. Her presence makes the lineup much more resilient while still allowing Drayne's execution mechanics to do their work. Then we have Iris, who is one of the most explosive damage dealers in Eternity compositions. Iris attacks the inner souls of enemies, directly targeting their durability. And when that mechanic is combined with Dante and Drain reducing the enemy's main stats, the results can be devastating. Enemies lose health faster. Their durability collapses faster. And suddenly Drain's final verdict begins activating again and again. It becomes almost comical to watch. Like a circus act where swords keep falling from the sky and the audience can't believe how many targets are being hit. If your opponents rely heavily on magic damage, you can even bring Cornelius into the composition. Cornelius specializes in punishing intelligence-based heroes, making him a perfect counter to mage-heavy teams. In those matchups, the combination of Cornelius and Drain can dismantle enemy strategies very quickly. And of course, if you want to increase sustain and critical synergy within the team, Hus is another fantastic option. Hus strengthens healing and critical potential, helping the team stay alive longer while still enabling the aggressive mechanics that make Dante and Drain so dangerous. As you can see, there are many ways to build around this duo. Different heroes bring different tools to the battlefield, but the central engine remains the same, Dante weakening enemies and Drain finishing them. But Guardians, we must also remember something very important. Relics are not easy to obtain. Reaching level 20 on relics requires time, patience, and resources. This is not something that happens overnight. And that's perfectly fine. Hero Wars is a long-term game. Progression is meant to happen step by step. So don't rush. Plan your upgrades carefully. Focus on the heroes you truly want to develop, and invest in combinations that excite you. Because the game doesn't stop evolving. New heroes arrive. New relics appear. New strategies emerge. But when you discover a synergy like this one between Dante and Drain, it becomes something special, something worth remembering. Because watching these two heroes work together can be absolutely impressive, and sometimes, when the swords start falling from the sky and enemy heroes begin disappearing one after another, it almost feels unfair. Guardians, keep this duo in mind. Because Dante and Drain together are truly a spectacle to watch. Stay tuned, stay sharp. And as always, salute and friendship.